Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Wednesday, February 2nd, and we're here for my Wednesday abnormal psychology class. Good morning. It looks like some of you are just kind of getting logged in, getting your names in the chat. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Make sure you put your name in the chat for me so I know you're here. Unless you're subscribed, then of course you don't need to worry about that. But good morning. I can't believe it's Wednesday. I can't believe it's February already. Hard to believe that we're already in the month of February, and it almost feels like spring. It's like not. I'm waiting for the cold, rainy weather, but it hasn't shown up yet. Okay. Thank you, Isabella. Isabella, thank you for letting me know. Well, either way, good morning. I hope everyone is doing well and hanging in there. It has been a sad week for me, I have to say, because of my idol, like my favorite football player of 22 years, retired yesterday. So I was very sad, and then my other team didn't make it to the Super Bowl. But I guess I'm rooting for the Rams now. Go Rams! But either way, moving forward, we still have the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl coming up, so a little bit more football, and then I have to move on to maybe baseball. I don't know, in the spring, something, something else. But I hope everyone is doing well, taking care of yourself, staying healthy. Our plan for today, kind of our usual routine, we'll go over a little bit of feedback from last week. So I'll tell you just a little bit about some of the things I saw in last week's discussion. And then we'll talk about the materials that we have due for this week. So we do have a few things going on. We do have our first exam this week. So I want to make sure I spend some time talking about all of that and making sure that you feel as good and comfortable as you possibly can. So let's go ahead and head over to Canvas together so we can get started on that. And again, we are in week number 4 as of right now, but let's take a few minutes to talk about week number 3. And I still don't have any more information in terms of our return to in-person. It's still scheduled for the moment to be not next week, but the week after, February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. Though as soon as I hear anything else, I promise to pass that along to all of you. So just stay tuned for now. But last week we had a topic of biological psychology, and for the discussion last week, I had you look at what are neurons, how do they communicate with each other, giving me a little bit about the 10% myth of the brain. Overall, pretty nicely done. As I mentioned to you, I think in the stream, there were a few of you who I wanted a little bit more about how neurons communicate with each other. And I tried to give you that tip in the Twitch extra credit. I was really looking for you somewhere in there to talk about electrochemical communication, right? That there is an electrical and a chemical piece to how neurons communicate with each other, and to reference both of those and explain and kind of talk through all that. So I would say that is the biggest spot that people lost a few points, was not elaborating enough, especially on number 2 about how neurons communicate with each other. Overall, pretty nicely done on the 10% myth. I hope you enjoyed reading those little articles. I think it's a really interesting idea that a lot of people tend to believe. And so hopefully now you know why we do know that it is false. So overall, again, the biggest thing, just make sure that you're always elaborating in your responses to my questions, showing off your knowledge. Don't forget to reply to a classmate. A few of you are still not doing that. So don't forget to earn those kind of easy 2 points by responding to a classmate. Most of you got the extra credit question correct last week as well, looking at describing the electrical and chemical pieces. And I read through the survey, most of you feeling pretty good about the course. There weren't a lot of questions, so that makes me happy to hear that a lot of you are feeling good. Several of you expressed that you are feeling nervous about going back in person, but also looking forward to it. And that you weren't thrilled to have an online format, but that it's going okay for you. So I appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts and giving me that information. So thank you for taking the time to do that. This week we move on to the last topic in the first unit of our class. So we kind of have 4 units and 1 exam in each of them. And this week we're looking at sensation and perception. So the last of the 4 chapters in this first unit. And so for this week, make sure that you're reading the chapter in the ebook. So remember, on the ebook page, The internet is going a little slow today. On the ebook page that you should be reading the different chapters for each week. And I, again, think that's a great place to start. So you could read Sensation and Perception right here by clicking on chapter 4. Make sure you read through that and get that kind of nice overview of the materials to begin. And then you're going to want to, of course, look through the lecture on here and then watch the lecture video. So the chapter 4 lecture on sensation and perception, if you open that, like always, the first page is a summary and objectives. So you can read it or listen to me reading it to you. On the Beyond the Book page, I give you a little bit of kind of interesting things beyond the book. So a fun video about subliminal perception, all sorts of kind of hidden messages and things that are below the surface of awareness. A virtual tour of the eye, color after images, which will be really, really helpful in understanding that topic in the chapter. Some stereograms, which were really popular years and years ago. I had one of these in my room when I was younger. It had a surfer hidden in it, but really popular a long time ago. Another example of kind of like an illusion. In popular culture, there's a fun clip here by Blue Man Group related to rods and cones. It does have some flashing lights, so if you're super sensitive to that, you might not want to watch it. But otherwise, I think it's kind of a fun connection to rods and cones. And then a clip from Ghostbusters showing an example of ESP. I almost said ESPN, but I refrained. ESP research. And I think it's kind of a great example. Very biased, but good example anyway. The fourth page, here are all the key terms that you need to know for the exam. So these are all the terms from this chapter that you'll need to know for the test. And then finally, on the last page, the application, which is definitely connected to our discussion this week, which we'll get to in a moment, but a little bit more about smell memories and how you could use that information, and then a little bit about illusions as well. So make sure you watch any videos that are in here, click through everything, explore all those links. All of that together is going to be really helpful for you in understanding the content for this week. Of course, like always, you also have a lecture video that I created for you. So in the video, it's me lecturing to the PowerPoint slides for chapter 4. So make sure that you watch this. It is a Zoom link for this one. Take notes, pay attention. The materials on here will definitely appear on the exam. So all those things are kind of business as usual, right? Reading the chapter in the ebook, completing the lecture, and then watching the lecture video. You also have a discussion this week, like always, and I think this one's kind of a fun one because it forces you to do a little activity, which I think is always a little bit fun to do. So make sure that you watch the little introduction video that I have for you. And then you're going to complete the questions and the small stuff that I have down here. Don't forget to also read at least 5 of your classmates' posts and reply to one of them. So for this discussion, we're talking about smell and memory, right, which I just showed you on that last page of the lecture. Smells can often trigger very intense or vivid memories. I want you to read the 2 articles that are right here in this little smell articles link. And those are going to help you to complete and answer the questions below. So if you click on this, there's 2 very short articles related to how smell and memory are linked to each other. And this is going to be really helpful in describing smell memories. So article number 1 and number 2, again, they're relatively brief, and you could have me read them to you if you would prefer. But once you have read those articles, then you're going to complete a couple of things. First, I want you to do a little activity. I want you to gather a small sample of at least 3 of the following items: coffee beans, tea, cinnamon, chocolate, chapstick, any kind of scented candle, grass, dirt, a flower, crayons, Play-Doh, some sort of fresh fruit or herb, and then pick 1 or 2 uncommon items of your choosing. So you're going to pick a bunch of different things, and then I want you to take a moment with each of the items that you selected, and you're going to kind of take in the smell of that item. Allow yourself to fully experience it. Try not to, think of anything else. Close your eyes. Try and smell the item and see if it brings up any associations or memories. Let's see. I have a candle right here. It's a Christmas candle. I need to switch that. But I want you to take an item, and then you'll close your eyes. and smell the tree. This one, or the tree, the candle for me in this one. And this one actually gives me a very specific association. My best friend gave me this candle, and it makes me think of their house. Like the second that I smell it, they had this burning in their house at Christmas, and we were over there, and smelling it just makes me think of being in their house and Christmas time and so on. So take a bunch of different things, close your eyes, smell them, see what comes up. Maybe it's nothing for some of them. Maybe it brings a very specific memory or just like a general association. Maybe smelling grass makes you think of like playing soccer early in the morning, right? Whatever it might be. But then what you'll do for your actual post is you'll describe, did you experience any memories or associations? Which items did you respond to the most, the least? Are there any other items that you tried that maybe you would suggest? Again, if you can find some items that are not super common, they might be more likely to trigger a memory. Number two, and this is the biggest point value of this discussion, what are smell memories and why do they occur? Now, the answer to this can be found in these articles that are right here, and I really want you to be detailed in describing what they are and why they occur in order to receive full points. So explain the different things that are happening in order to make smell memories possible or make them occur. And then number three, how could you use this knowledge in your personal life? And I'm really looking for you to give me like a practical application. How could you use the fact that smell and memory are linked to maybe do something in your life? Maybe you could use it as a way to relax. And if that's the case, describe what you would do. You could use it to help you study. And if that's the case, how would you use it? So make sure that you're really describing to me how you could use that in a very practical way in your life. And as soon as you're ready, you'll hit reply. That will allow you to answer my question. And then you can also reply to a classmate, of course, like always. Let's say I really like Matthew's ideas of, oh, marshmallows. I should have done that one, right? And I could hit reply and answer and reply to Matthew. So make sure that you're doing all of that for this week. I think it's kind of a fun little activity, getting to smell some stuff and seeing if anything comes up for you. We also have one other component this week, and this is our first exam. Right, so exam number one is this week. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about where you will take that, how you should prepare, give you some tips, and so on. And if you have any questions for me as we go through that, I'm happy to answer them. So when you're going to take the exam, let's say you click on exam number one, it's going to remind you right off the bat that the exam will be on the ebook site. So you're not taking it here on Canvas. You're going to go to the ebook, and there's a link here below. If you hadn't purchased it for some reason, which I'm pretty sure you all have by now, here's a link for that as well. But once you get to the ebook site, which looks like this, you'll click on exams up here at the top. And then you're going to scroll down just a little bit, right? So at the top is that mandatory orientation quiz that you took. And then if you scroll down, here are the instructions for exams 1 through 4. And so for this exam, let's go through this a little bit. You have 75 minutes to take the test, right? So 75 minutes, make sure that you are organized and ready before you begin. Once you hit start, once you begin your attempt, you are in it and you can't exit out and come back. So make sure that you have time, that you have good internet, you have a quiet place, you're prepared and ready to go. 75 minutes to complete the test. And I will let you know this is plenty of time. The average amount of time that people take is about 58 to 62 minutes to complete this exam. But you do need to be prepared in order to do well. You can use your notes, you can use your book, you can use the internet, you have everything at your disposal, but I promise you that you will run out of time if you're trying to look up every answer. And that is a little bit purposeful. Right? I want you to study and prepare. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that might look like for you in a moment. But if you haven't studied and prepared and you're trying to look everything up, you're going to be very, very tight on time. So make sure that you are preparing like you would for maybe a traditional in-person test. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. You have to save your answers for everything on there. So make sure that you save your responses and they turn that like gold or orange color. I can show you that in a moment if you would like. And there is a clock for that 75 minutes. So make sure that you're being mindful of the clock. If you run out of time, it will stop you wherever you are at. So just be watching the time. You can always skip through questions if you find that you don't know the answer, but just be watching the time and make sure that you are pacing yourself. And when you're done, you'll click I am finished. It will give you a score instantly that will tell you how you did on the test. It'll show you the ones that you got right and wrong. Remember that that score does not come automatically over to Canvas. So the exam score, you'll be able to find it here on the ebook site. And then once the deadline is passed on Monday next week, I will bring all those scores over into Canvas and into your gradebook. So don't worry if you don't see it on Canvas during the week. I won't do that until the deadline has passed. So let me show you again how to save answers and so on. We can go up. There is a practice test. Now the practice test won't help you with content. It's only to help you with the format. So let's take a look at that together. It's the same as the mandatory orientation quiz. But again, once you hit start on your exam, you'll see there's a clock up here at the top that will start counting down and keep track of your time. And then there is a whole list of boxes that are the questions on the test. So once you answer them, let's say for this one, I answer this, you're going to want to hit save answer. And then notice how once I hit save, it takes it from black to like that orange gold color. Once I answer this one, right, your instructor definitely does not hate football, right? And then I'll hit save answer. And now number 2 is orange or like that gold color. You can skip questions. So let's say I don't know the answer to number 3 and I skip it. I can move ahead to number 6. It turns like a gray color to indicate that you've skipped it. Anything that's black means you haven't answered it. This one was confusing. Sorry about that, but we dealt with that earlier. And when you're all done and everything is saved, you'll hit I am finished, submit for a grade, and it will say, are you sure? Yes, go ahead and submit. And it will instantly, as I said, give you a score. I think I got a shameful 2 out of 10, but in all fairness, I only attempted 2, so I guess that's okay. But it will show you what your score is, and then you can look at them and see what you got right and what you got wrong. Okay, so that is kind of how you will go through and save your responses. Make sure again that you are preparing and that you're organized. Try not to wait until Sunday night. Right? You have the entire week to take this test. Please, please don't wait till Sunday night at like 10 p.m. to take it. Inevitably, when we wait till the last minute, the internet goes out, the power goes out, you get sick, something happens, there's an emergency. So try and set yourself up for success and take it earlier in the week. Take it tomorrow or Friday or Saturday morning, Sunday morning if you have to, but try not to wait all the way until Sunday night. It seems like the universe is always out to get you when you wait till the very last moment. So just try and set yourself up for success. A few other things, I will never trick you on an exam. The exams are very, very straightforward. So if you've been studying and preparing and reading and following along, you should do fantastically on the test. Most people score very well. They're very, very transparent, but make sure that you are preparing. So let's talk a little bit about what preparing for the exam might look like. Before I get to that, are there any questions so far? Does anyone have any questions about the exam before I talk about studying for it a little bit? It is mainly multiple choice, matching, and true false. There are no short answer questions. But it's mainly multiple choice matching and true false. But let me wait just a second. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Wait just a moment. And then we'll talk a little bit about the study guide, which is going to be super helpful for you in preparing for the exam. Okay. So I'm not seeing anything yet, but if you do think of a question, of course, as always, feel free to put it in the chat and I will get to it. For every exam, I will give you a study guide to make sure that you know what to prepare. And you can see it right here under week number 4. Here's study guide number 1. So let's click on that together. And when you click on the study guide, it's going to give you all of the terms that you need to know for the exam. And I did also record them if you wanted to have it that way. But you can see these are all the terms from chapter 1, all the terms from chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. And if you look at these terms, what you'll notice is these are just a list of all the terms that I gave you on that 4th page of the lecture. Every lecture, every week, I gave you a list of terms that you needed to know for the exam. And then on the study guide, all I've done is put those terms together on the same page. So make sure for chapter 1 that you understand it could answer questions related to all of these terms. Same thing for 2, 3, and 4. So 4 different chapters on this test. If it's on the study guide, it will be on the exam. If it's not on the study guide, you don't need to worry about it. So if it's on here, make sure that you understand it. You can answer questions about it. And if it's not, you can go ahead and let it go. There are 2 diagrams on this exam as well. So make sure that you are able to label or select from a list each of these areas of a neuron and then each of these lobes of the brain. So I gave you the exact diagrams that are on the exam, so make sure that you can also label those as well. So each one of these represents like an item and you'll be selecting it from a list of options. So remember that it's open notes and open book, but you definitely want to study and prepare. If it were me, used to teach this. That's fun, right? I love neuropsych. It's tough, but it's a great topic. But if it were me studying for this exam, and I'm definitely a little bit of a perfectionist, and I've always been a straight A student, so I tend to over prepare and maybe do more than I need to. But on first exams, you always want to be over prepared, right? You don't know what to expect. It's probably the hardest exam because it's new. So you want to over prepare if possible. Yes, if you plan to open the book or read the notes, you will not pass a matter of time, right? It is really important to be studying and preparing for sure. So if it were me, what I would do is I would go through and I would write out or type out each one of these terms. So I would look up the roots of psychology and write that down, the demographics of early psychologists and write that down. And I'd have all of this written out and organized or typed out and organized in front of me so that during the exam, if I didn't know the answer, I could easily reference those materials, and I don't have to be searching through the book or the lectures to try and find them, which is going to waste valuable time. So if you were to write or type all of these terms out and have it in front of you, you have everything that you need, and hopefully you have kind of reviewed and studied. Maybe you make flashcards or use something like Quizlet, but that way you do have it right there to reference should you need a little bit of help. So that is the wonderful advantage of an online class, is that you do get to use your notes and book. But again, please make sure that you do study and prepare at least a little bit. And if it were me, I would over prepare so that you're ready for anything. And then hopefully you'll get used to the format of the exams and you can either dial it down or adjust a little bit for the next one. But you never want to have that moment of being, I didn't do enough and I'm not prepared. That's an awful feeling. So again, these are all the terms that you need to know. If it's on here, make sure that you know it. If it's not, let it go. If the question seems confusing or like a trick, try to read it again. I will never trick you. Trick questions are silly. So if you ever feel like it's confusing, you could let me know or try and read it again and make sure that you read it correctly the first time. I do write all of my own questions and I write all my own exams. So it should be things that we have covered and that they're, that are very familiar from the materials we've gone through. I think that's everything that I want to say about the test. Are there any other questions or thoughts about the exam? Again, biggest things I would suggest to you, do not wait till the last moment. Study and prepare. And if you've been reading and following along, you should be in good shape. Okay, so make sure that you take that before Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. We're 75 points. That's a lot. So you want to make sure that you're ready and all set to go. Just a couple of other things before we are done for today. I want to give you your weekly reminder to double check your subscription status. Remember that it's only good for 30 days, that free Amazon Prime subscription. And we are in week number 4. So what that's going to mean is several of you will start to fall off over the next week if you haven't already. So just take a quick moment every stream and I'll remind you to make sure that you're still subscribed. Or if you haven't done it yet, you can still go ahead and do that. The other thing, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday next week. Wednesday, which is what? Let's see, Wednesday 2/9 at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, so our next live stream will be on Wednesday next week at 8:30 in the morning, which is the 9th of February. And that will likely be our last Twitch live stream if we plan to go back on the 14th. That is the following week. So that is potentially our last live stream. Again, I will let you know next Wednesday what I have heard. I've still not heard anything. There was a board meeting yesterday, so I expect that we hopefully will get an update in the next day or two. But for now, we are still planning on returning to in-person on the 14th, which is a Monday. And as soon as I hear any more about that, I promise to let you know. I'm kind of debating a little bit when it comes to how I want to deal with exams and things like that once we do go back. I am considering maybe trying to keep a few things virtual, just in the interest of safety and lowering anxiety. So we can talk about that together, or if you have an opinion on that, you're welcome to share it with me. But I'm thinking of making exam days virtual for the entire semester, regardless of what we end up doing, just so that you're not having to sit there wearing a mask, dealing with the anxiety of COVID on top of the anxiety of an exam. And that is a day that could easily be virtual and give you a little bit of flexibility. So I'm kind of toying with a few ideas related to that. Otherwise, again, as soon as I hear anything, I promise to let you know. A winter storm. I wish we had a winter storm here. I would love some snow, even for a day. My kids would be very excited to play in the snow. It gives us more time to review versus sitting testing for the limited time we get in person. Definitely. And exams are things that cause people a lot of anxiety, right? Forget even before COVID, right, or during COVID. At any point, exams are very anxiety inducing for students and for people. And so the advantage of doing them online is you would have more time. You would be able to use all of your notes and resources. And so that's something that I'm considering. If you like that idea, feel free to share that with me. I would be happy to weigh your preferences when making that choice. But I'm still kind of holding on to see what the college says. But I know that was the plan as of last week. The other thing I want to give you, the Twitch extra credit question. So let me pull that up for you here so that I can give that to you. Okay, so the extra credit question for this week, let me copy and paste it here. Okay, you agree too, Cynthia. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know what you think. I appreciate it. I definitely want to, I want to make sure that I'm being mindful of what would be best for all of you. And I'm thinking of our safety and exposure, but also thinking about, anxiety and how I could maybe help you manage that a little bit. I know, of all the years to be anxious, this is definitely one where there is a lot more anxiety than usual. So here's the extra credit question for this week. What is the difference between sensation and perception? So define and give an example. So you might define sensation and perception and give me an example. So let me put that in here. Define and give an example. Okay. And when you're ready to answer this, since we are in week number 4, you will go to week number 4 on Canvas and click on optional Twitch extra credit number 4 right here. And then once that loads, the instructions are here as always, but you can click on Start Assignment, which will allow you to have this little text box where you can type your response. And once you've answered the question, you'll hit Submit Assignment. You get the confetti burst and what else today? Let's see. Confetti burst and, trophies. Very exciting. Like my fantasy football trophy in my office, right? No, I'm just kidding. I came in second. I don't have the trophy this year, sadly. Last year, but not this year. So when you're ready, you can hit attempt, new attempt or start attempt and answer this. This is due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And again, if you answer it early in the week and get it wrong for some reason, I will give you some feedback, which will allow you to try again. So make sure that you answer that for this week if you're interested in getting those 2 points of extra credit. If you haven't already put your name in the chat, make sure that you do that. Or if you're subscribed, you don't need to worry about it. Get going on the exam, start studying and preparing. I would really, really encourage you to work on that study guide and to type it out or write it out or use something like Quizlet to help you do the discussion. Enjoy smelling random items and seeing what associations come up. And then, of course, don't forget to read the chapter, do the lecture, and the lecture video as usual. And if you want to just double check that you have everything, there's the week 4 wrap-up checklist, or you can just make sure that you've done everything under this week. Okay, so that is everything that I wanted to share with you and all the tips that I could think of for the exam. Does anyone have any questions about the study guide, about the exam, the format, the topic for this week, anything related to this week or the course that I could answer for you? If you do have any questions, I will hang out for the next like 9-10 minutes or so, and I'm happy to answer them. If you don't have any questions, you are welcome to go. We're kind of officially done. I hope you have a wonderful week. Continue to take care of yourself, stay safe. And again, as soon as I hear anything from the college confirming whether or not we are going back on the 14th, I will let you know. But for now, that is still the plan, and we could talk about it a little bit more next week when I see you Wednesday morning at 8:30. Okay, so I will hang out for a little while, but I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself. But if you think of any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, and yeah, I might see you all soon, right? It's coming up, so we'll see what happens. But have a great week. I'm going to minimize this, but if you think of anything, of course, feel free to put it in the chat. You too have a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful week. Thank you all for being on here with me. I really appreciate your company, and I'm excited to meet you all. Hopefully that's coming up. But I appreciate you being on here with me early on a Wednesday morning. Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, I didn't know that either. You know, honestly, when I was in my graduate program, they always make you feel like you have to have a PhD. And if you want to teach at a university, you do really often need a PhD to be tenured and be accepted as like a professor. But at the community college level, all you need is a master's degree, which is nice. So yeah, I have a master's in counseling psychology along with some certificates and minors. But yeah, that's something that I think that is a little bit falsely put out there into the world. I thought the same thing. But yeah, you just need a master's to teach at the community college level, which is nice. A lot less student loans, right? Right? Once you once you have it, it's too late for sure, right? Tried for a PhD, but my advisor only graduated. Wow, that's ridiculous. And you know what? I thought you meant because you had one. No, it's never too late. It's never too late to go back and do something different. But yeah, that's too bad. Two people in 40 years. That's wild. That I think that speaks volumes about that advisor, much more so than it would say anything about you. Wow. But that's super frustrating. That feels pretty biased to me. That's definitely not how it should be, right? Hopefully in a good way. Your life and your plans. Hopefully in a good way, right? It's I actually really wanted a PhD as well. I applied all over the place and wanted to do a PhD program, but I didn't get into any of them. So it worked out really well, I think, in the end that I got a master's degree. But there was a good period of time in there where I really wanted that PhD. But it turned out that I could do everything I wanted with just a master's, so that's great. Oh, yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love my job. I feel very, very lucky to have it. You know, I was training to be a therapist, and I enjoyed, you know, doing therapy, but it was so heavy and difficult. And I have a very I have a very sensitive person, and it was very hard for me to separate, you know, my life from my client's life. And so I found teaching was just so much more fun. It was lighter. I really enjoyed it. I could talk about football and food, and and it was totally okay to do so. So I'm very grateful that you know, that I was able to do that with my master's degree. And yeah, I wrote a textbook for my intro psych class for this class, which is pretty neat as well. It took me a couple of years, but I love it, and I think it turned out really good. So thank you. That's very kind. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. I have another class at 10 o'clock today, so I'm going to go close this up since it looks like most of you are gone. I'm going to try and start that download and upload. I will post a link to the recording of this as soon as all that is done. So again, thank you all for being here, and I will see you all next Wednesday morning.